The year is 1977. Jimmy Carter has just become President of the United States. David Bowie released the first 2 albums of his Berlin trilogy, and the high five was invented. Oh yeah, and this thing happened. When Star Wars released in May of '77, nobody could have predicted the paramount success the film would see, George Lucas included. The film was seen as a B-movie by most during production, with fairly low expectations from everyone involved. But when your movie only becomes one of the highest-grossing movies of all time, spawning countless sequels and a ton of merchandise, with parents giving their kids gift vouchers for toys that haven't even been made yet for Christmas, I'd say your film did pretty alright. But the real question is, with all this fanfare and momentum right out of the gate, what do you do next with something like Star Wars? You make a Christmas special! In November of 1978, the Star Wars Holiday Special would air on CBS. George Lucas would not be involved in production, with the special going through 2 different directors, but would retain most of the cast from the original film. The special would disperse musical and comedy acts amongst a main story, with some fairly famous actors taking part. But when the special aired on the 17th to 13 million people, those poor souls, the special would be hated by pretty much everyone. Critics and audiences equally despise the special, with the cast even hating it themselves or flat out refusing to talk about it.
Do you remember making this Christmas special? I think it was 1978. No, you don't remember it? What if I were to tell you that I had a little piece of tape right now?
In fact, George Lucas himself has gone on record about this special, saying, "If I had the time and a sledgehammer, I would track down every copy of that show and smash it." Now that's true hatred. And while I'm not a huge Star Wars fan myself, I've always been intrigued by how universally hated this movie is. If you haven't already noticed, I have a bit of a habit of enjoying some of the worst movies ever made. Not because I'm a masochist or anything, but simply because most of these movies are some of the most unintentionally funny shit I've ever seen in my life. So now that we've reached the holiday season, I figured, why don't I finally watch this special to see how truly bad it is? So to get into the spirit of the season, let's all watch the Star Wars Holiday Special. I am not responsible for any therapy bills. We first begin with Han Solo and Chewbacca flying through space, trying to escape from Imperial forces.
That's it, I'm turning back. I know your family's waiting.
Wow. Harrison sure seems excited to be here. The two are trying to make it to Chewie's home planet to celebrate Life Day, which is the most uninteresting sounding holiday you could possibly come up with. We then get your stereotypical TV special intro, introducing the cast and guest stars.
Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca, James Earl Jones as the voice of Darth Vader, R2-D2 as R2-D2.
Before meeting the rest of Chewbacca's family, we have his wife, Mala, his dad, Itchy, and his son,
Bumpy.
The special revolves around this family's antics and how they're preparing for Chewbacca's arrival. I'm gonna grab a beer. Yeah, the biggest piece of criticism the special faces was the choice to center around a family speaking a made-up language. We don't get any subtitles or translations until later either, so you're pretty much left to guess what they're saying. This'll be fun. After he annoys Itchy, Lumpy takes out the trash, I guess, then decides to walk across a very thin guardrail. And after somehow cheating death, Itchy brings Lumpy to a hollow chessboard to watch a circus. How much of this special do we still have left? Shit! The family then start to get concerned as to where Chewbacca is, and decide to call Luke Skywalker about it.
Hello, Mala. Itchy. Hiya, Lumpy.
Oh, thank God, we finally get some dialogue.
Where's Chewbacca?
They tell him that Chewbacca is still missing, but Luke tries to reassure them.
I wouldn't worry about Chewbacca. I know him and he hasn't missed a life day yet, right? Come on, Mala, let's see a little smile.
Why is Luke staring so deeply? Menacingly.
I gotta get back to this engine. I think we might have it solved.
Mala then spies into a trading post, where we meet a shopkeeper played by our first celebrity guest star, Art Carney. I am going to pretend like I know who that is. He tries to sell a bunch of useless crap to an Imperial guard before calling in with Mala.
Good to see you again. Don't say a word, madam. I know just why you're calling. You're wondering when that shaggy carpet you ordered will arrive at your home. You know, it was made especially for you by a little old woman 4 planets away. She did it by hand. Solo.
He tells Mala that he'll stop by later with gifts for the family, with the guard then stealing one of his items.
I thought I might embarrass you when I told you to accept it as a gift.
You ordered a blockade, curfew.
Look, kids, it's Darth Vader! Vader orders additional forces to look for Han and Chewbacca, using dubbed voices over reused footage. And that was the only appearance of Darth Vader in the special. No, really, that's it. They couldn't even film new footage for it. Sure hope James got a nice check for all that labor. Anyway, we are now 20 minutes into the special, and literally everything has felt like a giant distraction so far. But who knows, maybe this is all just exposition leading into something even a little more interesting. Please. We then cut back to Mala as she prepares dinner, while watching a cooking show hosted by every living stereotype rolled into one.
Stir, whip, stir. Come on, faster all together now, cooking can be fun.
I guarantee that was a mistake that they didn't even bother to refilm.
Also have to beat. Stir, whip, stir, whip, stir, whip, stir, whip, stir, whip, stir.
Star Wars, everybody. I really hope none of this is canon. After another scene with a monotone Han Solo, the Wookiees get an alert from the Empire.
Due to suspected rebel activity on the Kazook planet, the Empire has declared martial law. No ships will be permitted to land or take off.
The shopkeeper then arrives to give everyone their gifts.
Why all the long hairy faces?
Giving Mala a suitcase thing, Lumpy some kind of keyboard, and Grandpa Itchy a virtual pleasure machine?
Oh, yes. I can feel my creation. I'm getting your message. Are you getting mine?
Ah, yes. Horny old men. That's what the special needed. I'm gonna go soak my eyes in bleach real quick. We then get a drawn-out musical number from Grandpa Itchy's imaginary girlfriend. God, what a f***ing sentence. Before Mala calls in with Princess Leia and C-3PO.
Mala, it's so good to see you. Happy Life Day.
Mala tells him that Chewbacca still hasn't arrived, with Leia asking the shopkeeper to keep the Wookiees company until Chewie returns. Han and Chewbacca then bypass the Empire's blockade, and finally make it back home. No. Are y'all just gonna walk into their house without saying a word? The Imperial dudes search the house for signs of the rebellion, I guess, while the shopkeeper constantly yaps to keep them distracted. One of the guards then uses Mala's briefcase thing to watch a Jefferson Starship performance before forcing the shopkeeper out of the house while they continue to search.
Finish the search of this house. We have other areas to cover today.
Finally, some actual action! To calm Lumpy down, they make him sit and watch a cartoon about Star Wars. In a Star Wars special. In this animated segment, Han Solo has gone unconscious, with the Millennium Falcon about to crash on a planet.
He's on a collision course. Princess, we're in mortal danger from our own force.
This is already giving me the heebie-jeebies. Luke and the droids then try to save them, and after crashing onto the planet themselves, they're saved by Boba Fett, who takes them to the Falcon. Also, this is the first appearance of Boba Fett in any Star Wars film, meaning he shares his debut with a four-armed cook show host and a horny grandpa Wookiee. Luke then passes out when they enter the Falcon, and while Boba Fett goes to town to find a cure for them, the droids find out that he's working with Darth Vader. Luke and Han then wake up, they find out what's really happening, and Boba Fett just leaves. Well, that was a waste of time. Within an even bigger waste of time, but I digress. The stormtroopers destroy everything in Lumpy's room, and once he returns to it, he decides to exact revenge. The keyboard thing turns out to be a transmitter, and Lumpy watches a video to assemble it hosted by a robot.
Please be careful not to hurt yourself on the sharp edges. Ow.
Y'all remember when this was about Star Wars? The special then randomly cuts to the Mos Eisley Cantina, where some creep hits on the bartender played by B. Arthur, as the Empire then places another curfew on Tatooine. And once the barflies refuse to leave the bar, Arthur sings a song about friendship featuring the word friend exactly 29 times. All the patrons finally leave the bar as we shift back to the Hey, wait a second. They sat there and watched the entire thing? I thought they had other places to be. Are they stupid or just criminally lazy? Lumpy then gets his transmitter working and tricks the Imperial dudes into leaving their house. One stormtrooper is ordered to stay behind because why not, who then catches Lumpy with his transmitter. Han then tricks the stormtrooper into killing itself, and then leaves to head back to the rebellion.
You're like family to me.
Then, after a lot of unnecessary stalling, Chewbacca embraces the rest of his family. Then they all hold these orbs that transport them to heaven? A bunch of other Wookiees are there too, and the droids are there, and the rest of the main cast.
No matter how different we appear, we're all the same in our struggle against the powers of evil and darkness.
We then get a bunch of clips from A New Hope, a random shot of drunk Chewbacca, and finally, the end. And that was the Star Wars Holiday Special. Bah humbug. Yes, I knew it was going to be bad from the start, but what I didn't realize was how boring it was going to be. Practically nothing happens in the special aside from the musical numbers, with everything else just feeling like a giant distraction. You couldn't understand anything the Wookiee family were saying, the Imperial Guards just stood around and did nothing, and the main cast barely did anything of note. The only part that I kind of enjoyed was the animated segment, but even that felt underwhelming with nothing of substance happening. And while I do typically enjoy stuff like this, ironically, there is just nothing here for me to even try to grasp onto. I can absolutely see why George Lucas and plenty of others have disdain for the special. But to be honest, I don't hate it. I don't like it by any means, that's for sure, and it's certainly not a great watch, but for some reason, I find some strange amount of charm within it. It's such a strange detour from what you'd expect from a Star Wars film, and while it could have been done a hell of a lot better, it was still an interesting watch. So after all of that, would I recommend you this movie? No. I definitely enjoyed the strange concept more than the movie itself, as it's still a complete borefest with some of the cheesiest pastiches you could possibly think of. And even though I did find some enjoyment out of it, I cannot guarantee that for the rest of you. So anyway, if you've braved the Star Wars Holiday Special yourself, what did you think of it? I sure hope you enjoyed it more than I did. I'll also put a link to one of the many uploads of the special on YouTube down in the description in case you want to torture yourselves to it too. And so with that, thank you all for watching, I hope you all enjoyed, and happy holidays, you filthy animals.